Pepe Escobar talks with senior editor Paul Jay about the recent murder of Sheik Abu Risha and the ramifications for Anbar province.
If the Sheik had made a deal with the Americans, then what about the rest of that Anbar Unity Council? Had they continued a resistance against the U.S.? Because according to General Petraeus and President Bush, they weren't facing very much resistance in Anbar anymore. In fact, President Bush suggests life had more or less returned to normal.
Yes, return to normal in Bush terms is life in a U.S. military base, because if you go outside, if you go to Fallujah, Fallujah is 80% destroyed. The population is gone. Ramadi is 50% destroyed. Baghdad, there's no water, no electricity, and people, they have to scrap to get $200 to buy a gas generator. Most people earn, what, $10 a month begging. Absolutely nothing is back to normal in Iraq, as Bush said in his speech at least 3 or 4 times.
If Al-Qaeda was trying to, in an Afghan way, Talibanize Anbar, are the Americans also playing an Afghan type of strategy of arming jihadists? What's the long-term consequences of American policy in Anbar?
It's amazing because David Petraeus, who is considered a kind of a counterinsurgency messiah, he hasn't learned anything from real life, because this is exactly what the Americans did in Afghanistan in 2001. They were arming Pashtuns in eastern Afghanistan to go after jihadis, in this case Osama al-Zawahiri and the core of Al-Qaeda, running and then went through Tora Bora and then leaving to Pakistan, and they were getting wrong information. They were bombing the wrong mountains. They were following the wrong tracks. And that's exactly what's going to happen in Anbar, because they're getting arms, ammunition, pickup trucks, information, body armor, jeeps, you name it from the Americans, cash especially, you name it from the Americans. They are building their own Sunni Arab militias. And what do they want? First of all, they want the Americans out. Second, they want to depose al-Maliki's government in the Green Zone. And third, they want to solve their own intertribal feuds. And if they have private militias armed and financed by the Americans, that's the best way to do it. So there's no plan. The counterinsurgency cannot possibly work because the population is against the occupation. 97% of Sunnis, especially from Baghdad to Anbar, they are in favor of attacks against American soldiers. This is the whole point. No counterinsurgency is going to win this population.
Is Petraeus' strategy one of short-term gain for long-term pain? Or, in fact, do they know exactly that the consequence of this strategy will be a more vigorous civil war, a more vicious civil war? And is this, in fact, somehow part of Petraeus' strategy?
Yes. My reading is that this is part of Petraeus' strategy. This is classic British imperial divide and rule. You arm both sides, you see them tear each other to bits, and then you have the perfect justification to stay there forever. After all, they have now the largest embassy in the whole planet, as large as the Vatican. They have the 4 military bases that they must keep in Iraq by all means, because they lost the bases they had in Saudi Arabia. And the oil. They need to pass the Iraqi oil law. That's the whole point from the beginning. They cannot pass the oil law with this cabinet. They need a puppet, which is probably Saddam with our mustache, Yad Alawi. So they have to be there and organize all this. Otherwise, you're going to spend $1 trillion for nothing. What do you have in the long run applying a policy like that? You have divide and rule, and you have a sectarian war, which is exactly what the Bush administration says it doesn't want in Iraq.